This episode of Chicago's Bravest Stories is brought to you by Rescue One CBD. You've heard us talk about it on a good amount of our episodes. If you enter the code BRAVEST, you'll get 25% off. This is available at omnianaturals.com, and like always, it is 0.00% THC, non-detectable, and they stand by their percentage of THC so much that they'll give you a QR code that you can scan, and you can actually see the lab results for that individual bottle that you buy. It's American-grown organic hemp, and like I said, we get all the benefits of CBD oil. I use it. I can't say enough about this product. The fact that now we get the benefits of CBD oil that is 0.00% THC free. We're going to give one to our guest here and see what it does for him, because I know that you definitely, we're going to get into some of your background, but you definitely wind up with some muscle soreness and stuff like that. And we're going to try to help you out with Rescue One CBD.
Vince.
Yeah, it's a teaser for what's coming up.
I actually had my wife was having a issue with her back last week or so, and I actually just had the bottle that we got here, because I mean I definitely wouldn't pay for it, but if no, but I brought it home and she used it on her back, and again she was she was super impressed with it.
Is that the one that you were rubbing on your forehead?
That was that one. So that's the most action I get these days is the roll on between my forehead but she was going at her lower back, like right by her hip area, and my wife is, just as a general rule, very much against any type of like drug or alcohol, whatever usage, and like it was like pulling teeth to get her in there. And once she started using it, she was blown away, and I actually ended up having to make an order later on. So we'll see what I can get kicked off.
I mean, the last time I had to use it was on my back too, and it really helped.
It was like icy hot. It's awesome. It was like an aggressive icy hot, which was awesome.
Yeah, it feels nice.
Yeah.
So Rescue One CBD. CBD. And look how great you feel.
Look, I feel incredible. Hey, look at me.
You can go to omnianaturals.com and enter the code BRAVEST for 25% off. So back to our guest. We're back here with Chief Demas. Corey, you want to get into some specific topics?
Yeah,
right?
just because clearly this podcast is all about me. I want to make sure that
is true.
I'm doing the right thing in my job, and so we kind of left off with you getting promoted. Chief, how was that transition for you? Just coming off where you were.
So I was on Truck 11. I was at Private Engine 9 for 2 years, and then I moved out to Truck 11. Took the test prior to that, ended up number 7 on the list. Wasn't really sure what that was going to do off that list. You just don't know, right?
Was that the first time you'd taken that test?
Third
okay.
Third time.
So you were actively seeking it?
Yeah. I was 10 and a half years, I think is when I got 11, almost I think about 10 and a half years. I got lieutenant. And
so was that a test that you were you like, okay, like this is the one, I'm going to try on this one, or were you pretty aggressive all the time?
This was probably the one. They always say somebody motivates you.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to work for this person anymore, or I can't take this anymore. And without getting into specifics, there was a gentleman that I worked for that it motivated me to study.
What a nice way to put it, Chief. What a gentleman.
Yeah. Well, everyone, is who they are.
Yeah.
You got to accept them for who they are. So, so I took it seriously. I took the SOPs, and there's a kind of a good story about this, and I'm sure guys at the firehouse are going to. Well, one guy's probably not going to like the story, but let's go with it. It's not a bad story.
He's not listening.
Yeah, no one's listening, according to Calaga.
No, no.
So I was at Station 4 as a fireman, and this gentleman came up to me and says, "Hey, why don't we study together? Start a study group." And like, sure, all right. It's not common, and it wasn't common back then to have study groups and all that stuff. So we decided to do it. And this gentleman, and I have been promoted every list, every time, together to the rank we are now.
Come on.
Yeah, so we both made lieutenant, the same list. He was number 3, I was number 5. Military points pushed us to 5 and 7. When the promotion came through, we both made lieutenant, got pinned the same day. Made captain, It took me 3 times to make captain. Same thing. We both studied, hit it hard. He was number 1 or 2, and I was number 3.
Wow.
Again, pinned the same time.
That's awesome.
The battalion chief came, timing just right. Him and I both pinned the same time, same place. So
This was the guy you didn't like, right?
no,
I'm mostly.
no, he's a good dude. No, but he's not the guy to
That motivation.
No. Well, he did motivate me in a good way.
Sure.
So it was kind of a cool story that I don't know if there's a lot out there that done that, but
Yeah, no.
great.
Did you guys have the same time on the job about?
He's a year ahead of me. So he got hired in 96. I got hired in 97. So
That's awesome.
yeah. So to going back to your question, the transition was I was trying really hard. My wife, Barb, her and I, she's part of the study group was we wrote every question we could out of the SOPs and orders. I had over 3,500 questions out of our orders. So everything was a true and false or a fill in the blank. And
Yeah.
if we were going 5 minutes to Jewel, she'd read me 3 questions. If we were going 3 hours south to hunting ground, she'd read me 3 hours of questions. So I wouldn't have got the first one without the guy from the job and Barb.
Wow.
She's my rock. So solid work by her.
That's my warden. That's
Barb?
Well, no,
For the sakes, that's weird.
right.
Corey.
I mean,
I know this is about you, but
no, that's no. Well, wow, yeah. So I mean, you were really hitting it the entire time.
Yeah, it was time. And
Kids or anything at that time or no?
2000, yeah, 2.
That's
2 at the
yeah.
time.
That was. I mean, I know I was in the same boat. I was a nutcase when I was studying. I could not, and to this day I can't because I'm an idiot. But I can never focus at home. So I remember when I was taking it pretty seriously, it'd be like 9 o'clock at night. I'm like searching for a Starbucks because I got to sit down and go somewhere like just hang out here. I'm like I can't focus. There's too many fun things in this house. I got to just
Look, shiny object.
Right. Oh, look. Dumb podcast about firemen. I'll listen to that. But so you were going in, you end up getting pinned. What was your mentality going into it? Like I would imagine like you were pretty motivated going in.
Yeah. I've, like I told you guys when we started, I've been pretty fortunate with the people that I was
around you,
been around me,
and
there's a lot of people I wanted to emulate. There's a lot of people's demeanor. There's a lot of people that I'm like, man, that's who I want to be. And so I had this perception of who I was, but it took a while, in probably 3 years for me to become comfortable in the lieutenant's position where I felt like I had my sea legs, So I got promoted in August. I roved or relieved from August to January, and
that's a weird spot. I gotta imagine.
So there's no actors in Aurora. So you go from,
okay.
You don't act. So if there's a lieutenant off, there's an officer in his seat. We don't work up.
Wow.
Or they'll let guys work down, but they won't work up.
Sure.
So unless you have a really good officer with you that's with you, that'll let you ride up and he sits behind you, you get some work. But there's really not a whole lot of pre-work unless you do it yourself.
Right.
So I was always
so it's totally a new game once you're sitting in that spot. Pretty much.
And I'm pretty much like in my mentality is I want to know where I'm going.
Right.
I start with the end in mind. Like that's the goal. So I need to understand that. Even getting on Aurora, I remember sitting at the bar with Chief Bobby McKee one night, and I go, "Hey man, what's going to happen if I got to go to the rear by myself? When do I know?" He goes, "Listen, kid, put the work in. If you put the work in, it'll come when it needs to come." And it was like this calming feeling, So I figured if I'm going to do anything in my career, I want to prepare for that next position. Not saying I deserve that next position, not saying that it's owed to me or anything like that, but it's you put the work in, and when you're working towards that end goal, right? You want to be able to walk in, and what we do as company officers in that lieutenant spot is truly one of the biggest impacts I think in the fire service. Mm-hmm. So I would look forward to that. I look forward to the daily trainings. I look forward to building a company. And when you become a lieutenant, and I think the greatest thing that happened to me, well, you guys asked about mistakes, so I'm gonna get into that in a second, but the greatest thing for me was to build a team. Like the beginning, it's all like, oh, I'm trying to figure you out and you're trying to figure me out and I'm trying to figure this out. And,
right.
And it takes a little bit, right? But once you get past that awkwardness and feeling comfortable in your uncomfortability, all of a sudden it becomes really, really fun. Because as a lieutenant, the only thing you have to worry about as a lieutenant is your people.
Right.
That's it. The captain worries about the house. The captain worries about the rig and the broken shit. And you get to worry about your people. You get to train them every day. You're embedded with them, and you get to make the biggest impact. And
you said in bed with them, right?
In bed.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought you said, because that's how we do it.
I know. I get it. I'm with you, you know. Yeah. I think I added an ED to the end of that, but you heard.
No, whatever.
Whatever, Corey. However it works for you, buddy.
Right, that's right.
So he runs a different ship.
Apparently.
Listen, we get real close.
That's the way it's supposed to be, man. You know?
It's cool because you're. I know I kind of said this before, but like you're middle management, and like I think there's a lot of guys that, and I'm sure I'm guilty of it too, but I think there's a lot of guys that are like, all right, like I've got some power, like minimal, but I probably think I have more, and like I'm gonna try changing this, or I'm gonna try doing that, and like I think it's such a cool position, at least where I'm at, because like I'm always fighting, but at the same time, it's like I'm giving these orders. Like I gotta do my best how I want to implement them. I have to do my best on how, you know, I can maybe shield guys or not, you know, for us to do what we got to do. But like, that's not my job, is to rewrite the SOP book. My job is not to, you know, like, oh, we're going to start making this as an engineer now because I don't like the way that the system was before this. Like you're given this like skeleton, and you've got to work within that region.
Absolutely. It's the most powerful position, I think, when it comes to people.
Yeah.
Right. And
influence the most.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's a huge influence because you're going to get younger people than you normally, right? Normally you know, and if you have a senior guy, great, even more powerful to help embed what you want put into your company and how you want to look at it. Yeah. And you know, there's a great book out there, John Maxwell's 5 Levels of Leadership, and it talks about the 5 different ones, and level 1 being that day you get promoted, right? You get handed a bugle and you go here. And now you have the authority of the fire department to do what you want within the scope of the rules. As you move to number 2, it's more relationship based, where you're starting to get to know your people, you know, and do you know your everyone on your company's name and their kids' names and their hobbies and that kind of stuff. And then 3, because you built on 2 and built a relationship, 3 becomes that I'll do anything for you. The guy that you work, like I'll run through a wall for that guy, because that's level 3 leadership. It's like, I'm going to do what he wants me to do or she wants me to do because I know he has a relationship with me and cares about me. And then 4 is that building other leaders. So you find someone, Corey, as you get promoted and you're longer in your careers, you go, man, Vince can make a great lieutenant. Let's start prepping him. And that's level 4 leadership that you're going to give to him. And then level 5 is because of who you are. So if I threw out a name to you guys like Ray Orozco.
Heard of him.
Heard of him? Right. But I mean, on a personal level, you going over for birthday parties and stuff? No. But his leadership style's there.
Yeah.
Bobby Hoff, Rick Colomé, Hugh Stott, Bobby McKee. All these names, it's because who they are, right? And the reputation. That's level 5 leadership. But if you moved,
just gaining that recognition.
But if I moved to John Norman into IBM,
right, he's
not a level 5 leader because he had to earn that, right? So as a leader, we have to look. We have to look how we develop as firefighters, lieutenants, captains, and what we're leading and what we're leaving behind. And that those 5 levels really put you in perspective. And you're not always going to be in the same level with everybody. You know, you and I, you're level 1 because you're my boss today, and I don't know you. But Vince and you have a relationship, and you've been working together for 10 years. You're a different leader to Vince, so you can't be the same with everybody. And so as a lieutenant, you have the ability to learn that. You're going to make mistakes as a lieutenant. You're going to make statements. You're going to do things as a new lieutenant, which is going to teach you how to be the captain of the house. And then once you spend some time in that rank, because it seems like we all want to run through the ranks.
Right.
And Chief Henry would always say, don't promote yourself out of a job.
Yeah.
Don't promote yourself out of a job. And I took that to heart. Like, I spent almost 8 years as a lieutenant, and I loved it. I lost a bet to take a captain's test. So I took it, and now here we sit. But I think as a lieutenant, that position to build and to encompass and to develop your people is just priceless if you do it right.
Yeah. And Brian actually talked about that a little bit when you're talking about like looking for like other leaders that in your company. Like Kalag actually said it, referencing like-minded guys on his job. Like, again, like they didn't have a major change, or he felt like they didn't have a major change in Cicero until they got a good team and a good crew of officers that were all very like-minded, or a good crew of firemen that were all very like-minded. And they were actually, at that point, that's when they were actually really able to start getting like boots on the ground and like get things going with training-wise with him. So at what point in your company officer career did you really get behind all this stuff? Was early on in, did you feel pretty good about it, or like, did you start implementing stuff like this when you first started?
Oh,
or
no, I took my
fly
time.
By the seat of your pants,
I tried to take it in, and so when I first got promoted and I was relieving, I would try to have something in my pocket, a drill for the day, and something small, nothing like a major 3-line drill, blah, 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 runouts, but something small. And then I also tried to have everything we did was a training, like everything that we talked about. So if we went to an ambulance run, it's in a cul-de-sac. Hey, how are we going to back down? Are we going to back down? Are we going to pull the cul-de-sac, drop the skid, and pull forward? What hydrant are we going to hit? And just get guys in that mindset of we're firemen today.
Yeah.
And in the morning, I was very regimented of how I started my day every day.
Did you? What'd you do?
I'd come in. I was always there before them. Try to get there so they see my car, so they know it's going to be a normal day.
Yeah.
And then every day after the morning briefing, I would go through what's your responsibilities on a box, what's your responsibilities on an extrication, what's your responsibilities on a code, full still, those type of things. And it'd be a 5-minute thing.
Yeah.
But it was, if I had a relief guy there or whatever, it would just be the same thing every day. So we're in the game.
Yeah.
Because everybody comes to work with stuff, right? Everybody, as you get older, you get kids and they're like, no chow money. They took it out of my wallet. They this or that. The wife and I are fighting, blah, 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 whatever that is. But you got to get in the game, because at 8:05, you can be working down some hallway. And I know that's melancholy or dramatic or whatever, but it could happen.
Absolutely.
And you want to be just prepared at 8:05 as you are at noon, right? And so I always try to start my day the same way, with the, just a little on the apparatus floor. It's not some big formal, hey, let's get in our dress uniforms bullshit. It was, hey, this is what you're doing. Make sure you get the this, and this on this. Make sure we got this, and this. And I had 3 rules, and it was simple. The first rule was know where you're going. Don't turn to me in the right seat and ask me where I'm going, where to go. I got other shit to think about. You're a professional firefighter driving a $300,000 piece of equipment. Know where you're going. 2, you need to know everything that's on that rig and where it's at. You got to know exactly. I don't want to hear cabinets banging and banging looking for a tool that I asked for. And 3rd, know how to apply that tool when you get to where we got to go. And those are my hard and fast. I mean, you got to pick 3 things. An old lieutenant told me that. You got to pick 3 things and hold tight to them, because the rest of that shit, cleaning the garbages or this, or the coats on the handrails or the handrails, or the radio straps with radios, whatever yours thing is, well, pick, but it's not bullshit to you, but pick your 3 things and hold tight. The rest, you got to play in the gray area. You got to let them get away with stuff. And I know I don't know if we're going in the route you wanted to go with leadership, but as a lieutenant, Corey, I think the way we got to look at it is we do 3 things as a boss. We advocate, protect, and justify for our people. That's what we're supposed to do. Advocate, protect, and justify. So you got to advocate for them, good and bad, school, whatever. They want to go to classes. They want to learn more. They want to get promoted, whatever. You got to advocate. 2, you got to protect them. Sometimes it's from themselves, right? So sometimes, hey, fellas, a little too far. Bring the reins in a little bit. Or you got to protect them from the chiefs that are coming down that don't know the true story of what happened, and you got to take that hit for them, okay? You're going to suspend somebody. You're going to do something. It's on me. You protect them either way, from themselves or from the big bad chiefs. And then you got to justify, because sometimes they're going to make decisions on the ambulance or on the engine that might not be the best decision, but they made a decision. So you got to justify with the information that they had at the moment, at the time, to make that call, because hindsight's 20/20. So you can sit back and go, well, I would have done it this way. Well, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way, because you're making decisions with limited information. So that's, as officers, and I don't care what rank officer you are, that's what you're there to do, is advocate, justify, and protect your people. And that's where true leadership comes from, because they know that you have their back. When the shit's going to hit the wall, you have their back. And that's going to get more ground than any book, anything. They know you got them. And that's how you build your company.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like I just got a free class in.
Well, it's about you. Vince and I had already talked about this while you were outside, that we were going to make this all about you and getting you ready to progress in your career.
I've been.
He just advocated and justified you, Corey.
That's right. Just nice job, Vince. We picked up.
Motherfucker 3-leveled me just now.
That's right.
I didn't even fucking realize. So, and I'm happy Vince has actually turned the corner on this, because I've been talking about this since this thing started, how I think the name's all wrong for the podcast. I think, again, it should definitely be more about me.
Corey's bravest stories.
Corey's
right.
bravest.
I think it's got a nice ring to it, honestly.
does
We don't
have
even have to change the letters to it either. The abbreviation works perfectly. So as and kind of going, I guess maybe a little off topic, maybe keeping on topic, but like when you so you get promoted, at what point have you been involved in training outside of Aurora before that? Or
so going back to my West Chicago days, really after paramedic school. So after I finished paramedic school, they asked me to come back and teach paramedic school. So
awesome.
that was one of my first training things or teaching.
So jumping off, I mean, you really had the passion kind of.
Vicky Vach was the coordinator at the time, and Grace Loving, and Grace has since passed. But they kind of taught me how to get involved in
convey the information.
Yeah, so I started out as a paramedic instructor, and then I went to West Chicago and I met up with Hugh.
Yeah.
In U of I, and I started throwing pallets like for free. I'd go down there. They didn't have stoker positions at the time. You just went down if you knew somebody, and you stoked for them, right? You threw pallets. And the knowledge gained in those years from like 94 to when I got hired on were just impeccable to sit there and watch people teach.
Yeah.
You know, you just watched people, and you watched good instructors and you watch bad instructors, and you watch how they convey messages and how people learn and receive the message. And so I helped with that. And I got hired in, I can't remember the exact year, 98, 99 at U of I as a field staff.
Okay.
Was involved in the smoke divers program, fire college. Then I moved into engine, truck. Did that. I ended up being the program manager for smoke divers. Took over for Hugh. Hugh mentored me and built me up, and then I took smoke divers over. So I was the project manager for that for a few years. And then I also was I took over engine as well. So I was the program director for engine for a few years.
Even though you're more of a truck guy.
Yeah, well, but I'm also an instructor, Corey.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. With all due respect. So going, I mean, so you were involved this whole time. So how did that kind of play on all these levels? So you were really, I mean, again, like with me, just like I got promoted and I'm figuring out every single day, but like you, I mean, you kind of had some good ideas going into your promotion. Like, all right, like this is how I'm approaching this. This is how like you didn't come up with these different paradigms like a year after being a lieutenant. Like you had some good background.
I had great mentoring.
That's awesome.
Well, you hit the ground running. It kind of seems like you had to work your way from scratch.
Yeah, I definitely didn't know what I was doing. Or to this day, I don't know.
I mean, going from a blue shirt, you guys don't seem like you didn't have like a training to be an officer within your department, right?
Yeah, no, not really. I think that's probably, I mean, maybe I could be speaking for other people, but I feel like that's, I think generally what a lot of places like mine do.
Well, even us, there's nothing, there was no classes for us. We would, for a lot of years, our contract said that we had to go down to company officer school at Champaign.
Right.
I don't know, 5 years ago, I think it is now, our union went to Romeoville's company officer school. They sent a couple guys to check it out, and the department sent a couple guys, so they worked together. Yeah. They really liked the program that's there.
That's awesome. We'll definitely have to give them a plug at the end too, because like I didn't even know Romeoville had that. Which is awesome.
So now it's in our contract that they got to go to Fire Officer Academy at Romeoville.
Wow. Prior to promotion or
prior or right after?
Okay, so relatively soon.
You're going, and that's really the training that we have. And then that's a change, right? That's good. Chief Brady brought that along with Chief Lehman back when they were doing U of I stuff. And then we also, Ricky Colomé and Ray Roscoe designed the command school at Romeoville. So there's also a command school now too. So Aurora Fire guys, when you get promoted to battalion, go to Romeoville's command school.
Okay, so as you're going to battalion, okay.
Yeah, so they send you there as well now.
That's awesome. Yeah, so you're getting some pretty good training.
I think out of our 9 street chiefs, I think 6 now have been through Romeoville's command school, and the other ones have been through IFSI. So we're definitely they're doing something, and it's getting.
I was to say, how are you guys' response on it? Pretty good, or
yeah, they like it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, got a lot of good feedback from. You set the expectations of anything though, right? Because there's things that you're going to take, and there's things that you'll never do, and you just got to understand and be mature professional firefighters and lieutenants or chiefs to go, this will work by us and this won't work by us. And that's okay, because not everything works everywhere, but it's definitely a positive and getting guys dialed in.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, again, if it's one thing, I mean, our job, I think in general is like no two calls are the same. No. And like, how often have you, I mean, especially you, I got to manage, because I know it's happened to me a handful of times where like this like weird little fun fact from this class that you took or whatever nonsense, you were like, I'm never gonna have to deal with a fucking snake bite here. And then just all of a sudden you like kind of bust this guy. You're like, I don't even remember I remembered that one. You know?
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah.
So going through your lieutenantship, how I mean, you've had a couple things going on through there, right? Or did you?
Yeah,
any notable
we
stuff?
did some really cool stuff. So I had a fireman, John Hopkins, and he's a big World War II guy. Huge, right? Yeah. You know how some guys know players of baseball teams and this stuff?
Yeah, this guy
he knew sergeants.
Come on.
Oh yeah, big Band of Brothers guy, and just knew his stuff. He used to do those statues and paint them, and he actually took the Band of Brothers tour, went over there and followed in the footsteps, went to Toccoa, and Currahee, awesome. And then he did the whole thing. So he was on my company, and so we got together and we're watching Band of Brothers.
Right.
And
it's his thing.
It was his thing. Right, it was his thing. So the other private goes, why don't we become Red Shift Easy Company? All right, I'll go to the captain. So I went to the captain. The captain goes, why can't we just be the station Easy Company? All right, you're in on this too.
He's a one-upper.
So it really took legs of its own. So we contacted Easy Company Foundation out of Texas. The grandkids of all the guys from Easy Company still have the reunions.
Come on.
Yes. Yeah. I got a really cool challenge coin from them from the 506. So we started that, and we built a logo, we built T-shirts, the whole station took on it, because it really didn't have a culture there, right? Or it didn't have anything. It was just a station, and it kind of took on its own. It took on its own thing there. It was really cool. So we're sitting at this transformer fire at one of the ComEd plants, and it's just rolling out of the top. There's nothing we can do, right? Just watching the oil burn, and it's so Hoppy, and the guys from the station don't understand what I mean by this, but Hoppy's Hoppy, and he goes, I don't know, I think there's a Easy Company guy lives in Joliet. And I'm like, now you tell me? Well, I know he lives in Joliet. Okay, so I Google him on the computer in the rig, and sure enough, Frank Bercani. Joliet.
Oh, no shit?
Yeah, no shit. And Frank Bercani, Corey, Vince and I know who he is, but he was the guy that wore the watches.
From Band of Brothers?
Yeah, remember the guy that had all the watches on?
No.
He always had the toothbrush.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, that was Frank.
Yeah,
that was Frank.
No kidding.
So I call him up. So I picked the phone from the firehouse phone, I'm sitting in the front. Call the number.
Yeah.
Ringing. Hello, Mr. Bercani. Yeah.
Who is this?
Who is this? I go, it's the fire department. Click, and he hangs up on me. Like, Frank Bercani just hung up on me. What the fuck?
I'll take it. That's all right.
Call him back again. Hello, Mr. Bercani, fire department. Don't hang up. Hold on a second. And he hands me to, I think her name was Susan, and Lisa or Susan. She was his caretaker. She was a neighbor that would look out for him. Yeah. So we explained to her what we're doing and all this stuff, and we'd really like to meet him. He's a hero of ours. We'd like to. We didn't know he was that close.
Right.
So we set up a date, and we called up her and says, "What does he want? What can we bring him?" And he was like, "He loves Portillo cake." Oh, that's easy.
No problem.
No.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love it, right?
Right.
So we
we'll get two just in case.
Yeah, right. So we set up a time. We go out there and
come on.
We bring our helmets, and we probably pissed off other companies. Who cares, right? We put Easy Company on the bottom rocker. On the top.
Fuck. Yeah.
So we brought our helmet, our bonnets with us,
awesome.
So we're going there, and we knock on the door, and I'm thinking, this is a World War II hero. This could be this big, badass soldier guy, right?
He's small, right?
Yeah, he's like 5'2".
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, so he turns around in his recliner, because he's in a recliner. It's this little dude. Yeah. It's like, come on in, fellas. And we sat there for 2.5 hours talking to him. He had his shadow boxes up, all his medals, and we were asking him about like
how cool was that, man?
It was Vince. It was like, I don't know. It was one of the coolest things, because we're sitting there, and
they don't make guys like that anymore.
No, and just to show the class of this guy. So if the people that are listening ever see the movie, Captain Sobel was their captain in training, and he was just a jerk to them. He always had to they punished him and punished him. So I go, a couple of the questions I asked was, hey, Mr. Bracani, do you think that Easy Company was as well trained and dialed in and collected together because of how Captain Sobel treated you guys? And he stops, and he looks at me, he goes, I think he's dead now. And that's all he said. It's like, if you got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing nice at all, right? So I go, okay. I go, how was Major Winters? And his eyes lit up like he was a kid, like he was 22 again, and he was talking about his commanding officer. It was such a thing to see, like as a young lieutenant, and watching him at the time he had to be 80 years old, light up because of his leader, right? He goes, he was the most remarkable man I've ever worked for. And Bob went on, and then he also talked about he was on a stick with I forget the guy's name, Buck Compton. Buck Compton was the guy in the movie, remember, with the really blue eyes? Yep. And he ended up, he actually went on to a really good law career. He tried Sirhan. But he talked about Buck Compton too. He's like, that guy was a soldier is how he put it. He was with him.
He was one of his lieutenants.
Yeah, he was a lieutenant on his stick. Yeah, he was a lieutenant on his stick. And he said, one thing about the movie though, it shows Buck losing at the end, and that's not what happened. Buck left, and he was strong, and blah blah blah. So that led into how did it portray you guys? And that was another question we had. And he goes, well, I don't know. I was in like 8 of the 10 episodes, so I thought it went great. So then out of nowhere, he turns to us and goes, well, fellas, I got to go. We're like,
it's your house, man.
Where do you got to go? He's like, me and Murray are going to go chase some dames at theirs. And I'm like, okay.
A couple dames.
Yeah, we're going to go chase the dames at theirs. And I'm like, okay, thank you, Mr. Riccani. And we left, and my one fireman ended up staying in contact with him. He lived in Joliet as well, and would go in and check on him. And then he passed a few years back. But it was just an honor. And so to talk about building your company, right? You talk about you got to find something that everybody was into, and the captain really took it. Captain Salagi, he's retired now, but he made it what it was out there, and it just became Easy Company. It's still Easy Company today, and
that's awesome.
And they bust their chops about it, which is great, right?
Yeah,
Easy Company. And then Hoppy got transferred to the truck. He's like, and now I'm on Easier Company, and blah blah blah. And,
but it kept on giving.
Kept on giving. Yeah. So that was my lieutenantship out at Nines. It was just and we ran a lot of calls. We're busy there. A lot of EMS, a lot of accidents on the tollway. We covered the tollway, and we had that trooper that got hit and burned up, and there's a lot of shit that happens on the tollway, and landing helicopters and stuff on there. It's cool.
Over by Schiller, I said this, like, whenever there's some nonsense in the news about a bad highway accident, we all look at each other and we're like, thank God we don't have a highway run through our town. I've just heard nightmares about it. So going from lieutenant to captain, how was that? You said you lost a dare pretty much. What was that transition like for you?
It was good because they transferred me out of Nines, which I was pretty upset about. They transferred me to Fives, which ended up being great. The company over there were some young guys. Kevin Casey's nephew, Mike Casey, was on the company, and Mark Long and Eric, and it was just a bunch of young guys. So it was cool. And I spent the next from January to June, and then I got promoted in June to captain, and then I was relieving.
Did it hurt?
Yeah.
Did it?
Yeah, but it didn't hurt as bad as leaving captain to chief. That was the part.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Huh. So I got promoted. It sucked because you build a relationship with anybody, right? Even leaving Nines was sucked, but.
Speaking of captain, that was one of the last jokes I made was about this one captain was I was calling him Soap all the time, and he never saw Band of Brothers, and he didn't
know what it was.
They found out later he didn't like that one.
Well, you remember when Sergeant Lipton, they gave him the battlefield promotion. Yes. He didn't want it.
He didn't want it
because he wanted to be one of the guys. He wanted to stay, but captain he was captain at the time, or maybe Major Winter.
It was Major. Yeah.
He told him that we need you.
Right.
Can influence these guys from this position more than you can as a sergeant.
I don't want to talk about Band of Brothers the entire podcast.
I can't stop.
But
I love it because there's so much leadership in there.
If you want to be a leader,
you need to watch.
Make yourself be Major Winters, and from him being a lieutenant all the way to the the end of the war. Like
right, absolutely.
What's funny too, because I'm reading Dick Winters has a book right now, or not right now, but one that I'm reading right now. I'm reading this book, and it's funny because I thought literally the exact same thing as you when you were talking to him about like how I'm like, Sopel was a dick, but like
He does attribute
I
him
would
being a dick
think
to
that-
how good his company was.
Well, right, yeah, no,
No,
he does,
sure,
and like I thought the same thing as you. I'm like, did they come
truth-
together because of that guy? And like even in the book, like for as classy as Dick Winters was, like I forgot, I don't remember if it's in the book or if it's someone else I was talking to, but they were like, to this day, they all hate that motherfucker. Like they hate this guy.
Yeah.
Well, when he gets promoted above Sobel, and then Sobel won't salute him, and he's like, "Hey, you salute the rank,
not
not
the
the
man."
man." I was like, "Oh snap!"
Jesus.
But you talk about mistakes, right? And Winters makes a mistake when they're going across the field and he wants to run out to his troops.
Right.
And the colonel grabs him, right?
Grabs him,
And says,
yeah.
that's not your job anymore, Dick.
Oh, and we're gonna get to that too,
Right?
So
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
so,
that's going to come into play.
Okay.
So, yeah, let's.
yeah.
so I moved to captain.
Yeah.
So I get promoted to captain. I end up getting station 3, which is a West Side Engine ambulance house with the battalion, West Side Battalion in it.
And your position as a captain, you're still on
The rigs.
an apparatus. Okay.
Yep. You're on my rig. There was 2 lieutenants and myself. So as in the Aurora Fire Department, when you make captain, you're responsible for a house.
Okay.
That's the change.
That's like how you guys do in the city, right?
Yeah.
Vince?
So then, so you're in charge of the house, and that means if support services got an issue, garage doors, any of that stuff, that goes through the captain.
Okay.
With the chain, that's who's in charge. It's like running another house.
And your particular house that you were at, was there a battalion chief above you, or were you?
Yeah, no, we had a battalion chief. That's the battalion 2's in that house.
Okay.
Yeah, the 2nd battalion's in there, and it's good. I had a great working relationship with the guy.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, he actually trained me to do what I'm doing now, so I was already starting to prepare. He goes, "Hey, it's going to happen. Let's start working on things," and he took it slow.
Sweet.
I let me learn how to be a captain, and when he felt the time was right, he started saying, "Hey, look at the roster. Look at this," and
Yeah,
and then
just
there's
give
a
me
couple
little-
calls where we had a couple fires where he kept me next to him, so a little mentoring going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was
Yeah.
good.
So you get placed in this position, and how'd it go?
Great. I had I talk about Rick Torres a lot, but him and I spent more time together on companies than we were apart. So great working relationship, and he was my right hand. He helped. He became senior medic there, and he's mentorable. I guess that's a word, or teachable.
I mean, you're the
and
teacher.
he asked the question about how do I get these guys to do stuff. So we'd work together, and I told him, give them a month, set up your ambulance the way you want, and if they don't do it, give them one more month, and then if that doesn't happen, call me. And so we had a good work. I empowered him, and he was one of those guys that runs a tough house. He doesn't play games, and he's the guys at the Aurora Fire Department would give him shit about it, but he's a good barn boss.
Still working?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was just with him this weekend at a wedding. So,
Oh, no kidding.
yeah. So great guy.
Yeah. So
captain
you're.
was great.
I was gonna say you're captain. I know that there was some notable stuff, but can you go through some of the stuff you were dealing with?
Sure.
So what's your still area?
The river. So Aurora has a river that runs directly through the middle. It runs north to south. So basically, the river west to, I want to say 1,000 west, 10 blocks west, and then north to Plum, I believe it is, and then all the way to Sullivan, to the border to the north.
What does that area look like for you?
A lot of one stories, Montgomery Ward homes, a couple unhydrated areas that long lays, not unhydrated, but long lays, old commercial, some bowstrings, we could have there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
It's probably not the busiest fire company, but the potential's there.
Yeah, I was just
caught my
saying,
first
and
fire
probably
as a-
all walks of people, right? I mean, it
Caught
can
my
get
first-
kind of hairy.
Yeah, all walks of people for sure. We have the hospital in that district too, so they take care of Mercy Hospital, which is a non-profit hospital, which it's a little different than like a CDH or a Good Sam
For sure.
caliber. But I caught my first fire out of 3s as a lieutenant in one of those commercials. So it's there's some potential there.
Yeah. And what and how was that time?
That was good. I didn't like the part of captain where everything got brought to me that was broke. You know what I'm saying? But that's just that's the job, right? Hey, you could come in the morning, and I would come in with my civilian clothes on, and get there at 7, shifts at 8. Get
Change,
my coffee,
kind of ease
yeah,
into
but
it. And
not as a captain, it doesn't work that way. You walk in, and like, this is
hand
broke.
you right away.
Yeah, this is broke. You know what so and so did? You know what third shift did? Blah blah blah. It's like, I get it. Okay, so that part was kind of, it took away I don't want to say the fun. It was just different responsibilities as a captain. But it was good.
Yeah, so guys that would maybe talk to you, about other stuff, all of a sudden you're hearing gripes.
And you're
from
out of the
them.
union though too, so that's your first step out of the local. So even though you're with them, there's that first chink in the armor of, you're out a little bit.
Yeah. Oof.
But it's progression. It's the growth. That's the way it works.
Yeah, that's fair. And so, what kind of calls were you guys dealing with? What kind of calls were you dealing with?
Okay.
That being said, we talked about that you had this stretch where you had an apartment fire that was notable. You had the shooting, which we will get to. You had a pediatric burn, and it was all within a short. Were you a captain at this time?
Yeah, I was a captain in Engine 3 at the time.
And this is all going on while you were a fresh captain, and...
Or no?
No, this is my third year as captain. Between second and third. I'm still a new captain. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
And we were talking off the air about this stretch that you had, and your phrase to describe how you guys were dealing with this is that you're not going to make every corner. You're not going to make the corner every time. I know you wanted to talk about that, and I wanted you to kind of explain what you meant by that in regards to this stretch of like bad run after bad run after bad run. This episode of Chicago's Bravest Stories is brought to you by Sports and Ortho Physical Therapy. So, Steve, I understand you have a sports and ortho memory that you'd like to share.
I do. Just recently, I actually suffered an injury. It was a chronic injury from firefighting and paramedicing. I tore my shoulder and separated my AC joint right at the beginning of the pandemic.
How you feel right now?
I feel great.
Can you lift your hands over your shoulder?
I can do all of that. But what was crazy was at the time, they weren't doing shoulder surgeries. So I did not know what I was going to do until I was presented with the option of going to sports and ortho physical therapy.
So you theoretically could have been out for a long time.
I could have been out for a very long time, and I was told that the shoulder surgery I was presented with was going to keep me out a very long time as well.
So you would have automatically lost your spot.
Yes.
And potentially be out for a long time. There'd be a loss of income as well for like overtime and what have you, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So what kind of things did Dahlia have you do?
So Dahlia set me up with one of her therapists, Claire from England, and Claire beat me up for 3 months straight.
Well, you had it coming, Steve.
I did, but we did all kinds of stretches. I'll tell you what, I've had other injuries where I've went to other facilities outside of the job that I'm currently at, and they did not do the hands-on manipulation, the cupping, the stretching, the massages, the massage machine they were using on me, all sorts of stuff. Needling, Claire did some needling on me, and I'll tell you what, that needling, it was like, I can't explain it to you, but it definitely, like, I could instantly feel, it was instant gratification when she was doing the needling on me.
So how long did it take to get you back?
So I did 3 sessions a week for approximately 3 months, a little under 3 months, and I didn't need to have surgery. I rehabbed that shoulder back, and it was great. And on top of all of it, I had a thing going on at home where I couldn't be exposed to the virus or multiple people because of the virus, and Dahlia had gone out of her way to schedule me so that I would not have those experiences, and I could do a lot of the rehab by myself with Claire. And Dahlia went above and beyond to accommodate me like she does, and she goes above and beyond for all of her clients. And I'm truly grateful to her and Sports and Ortho Physical Therapy.
Well, there you have it. Living testimony by our own Chicago's Bravest Story, Steve. Sports and Ortho, you can look them up on sportsandortho.net.
I mean, they got a location everywhere, so.
For all you up north, Edison Park for sure, Mount Greenwood for you south.
Brand new Oak Lawn, I believe.
So sportsandortho.net.
So I know you guys want to get into shooting a little bit.
Was that the same one or was that a different one?
No, but this stretch was including the shooting. And it was including an apartment fire on Lake Street, and then it was this fire. So it was about, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Tones go off for a structure fire, and you pull out of my station, you turn left, and you can see the header. I mean, this thing's rocking. It's not a pot of meat. It's rocking. So I called Mac. He was the chief at the time, like, hey man, we need to upgrade this. We got something going. And he upgraded it right away.
It just come in as a still?
Yeah. Our way we work is if someone calls up in Aurora and goes, hey, I got smoke in my house, or my house is fully involved, it comes in as a box. There's no full still. They're still in box.
Oh, really?
It's just
Okay.
a box. Any working fire is a box. And then we upgrade it to a working response or another level, which gives us our RIT complement.
Gotcha.
So,
And it's all in-house anyways.
It's all
just
in-house.
a matter of how you guys lay out your
correct.
units.
So turn left going west on Indian Trail, and Ricky was driving for me, and he's like, hey Cap, we're going to be first due. Okay, got it. And turn the corner, and it's a 4-unit townhome, 2-story, and they're not in a row. They're like puzzle pieces, right? I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but like they're all backed up to each other like an octagon. Like And this one unit, the front doors, fire's blowing out the front door, blowing out the picture window, blowing out the second floor windows, and the guy's like, she's in here, and I'm like, turn to Clint, who's my tailman. I say, get the line to the front door.
What time is this about?
Middle of the afternoon, probably
Okay.
2:00 in the afternoon.
Oh, day fire, sir.
Yeah, it was. And so, but hindsight's 2020, but I'm looking at this building and something doesn't seem right. It just doesn't, like it's in my gut, but they're telling me. So I walk up to the guy yelling, I go, there's a door to the left that leads into the other unit. And then there's the unit that's on fire. And Clint's stretching. I go to the guy, is she in this door? She's like, no, she's in that window. I'm like, holy shit. All right, well, I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm like, let's put that out. And he's hitting that, knocking it down, doing a real nice job working the line. And I try to make the corner, and I turn the corner, and, through my hood, through my gloves, it's just
Burning up.
burning me up. And I knew, that what are you doing? But you still want to make that corner.
Yeah.
You want to make that turn. And, and to find out what I found out afterwards.
Masked up, tanked up.
I get to the front door, and it just, as I'm walking up, it's going on, and hood's up and making the turn. Clint's hitting the ceiling, knocking it all down. And the living room's still going. So I try to make the corner. I can't make it. I'm like, what the fuck? I got to make the corner. There's a girl in there. I got to make the corner.
All heat's in.
So I back out. As far, I got in maybe 2 feet, maybe, and I'm like, fuck, I didn't get to her. And so Clint knocks that down. The second line's now coming up behind us. They take care of the living room. Clint and I make the entrance, make a left. I go into the room, and it was so hot in that room that when the water hit the drywall, it turned into slurry. Like the drywall just disappeared. It turned into like a mud, and we're crawling. I can't find it. And then over radio here, we got the kid and the mom. I'm like, oh, yes, awesome. All right, Clint, let's go to 2. Get up to 2. Clint's like, I got a hole in the floor. I'm like, well, take a door off. He goes, there's no doors left. And that's when it hit me. What I was looking at was they took all the windows on the back side and they took all the windows on the front side and the front door. There was workers working in the building next door. And what I found out, basically it was a burn down, right? So it was wide open, heavy wind coming from the southwest that day, just lit it up. But what I found out is the mom and the baby were on the couch. The 5-month-old, who was the kid they got, who was burned, and the mom was burned. She was out walking around outside, and the medics got her, and they said that they got the kid. Well, the 4-year-old was sleeping upstairs nap time. So what happened was the 4-year-old heard mom screaming. As mom walked out the door shut behind her with the wind, shut the door, and the kid couldn't get out the door. And she was in the window, pounding on the window when the workers took the window. And hold on a second. It took the window and it lit her up.
Yeah.
Right? And so we found out later that she was in that room. We crawled over her, and not that we're going to do anything.
Right. At that
not
point.
that it's going to change anything. It was bones, and and not to be graphic, but the thing I want is young firemen are coming up, and young officers and old guys, and just we think we're always going to make that corner. We think we're always going to make that turn, and you're not, and it's okay, right? It's okay. And I remember after we get a handle on all this, and I go out in the back, and I just take a moment for myself, because the last thing I want to do is see my troops see me upset, and I remember one of the senior fireman came up to me and he just tapped me on my shoulder and says, "You did what you could. It's all okay." And that right there was enough, right? Get back in the game, kid, right? But it's understanding that we're not going to make that corner all the time, but we got to be prepared to make the corner. And that's where the training comes in, right? That's where the experience comes in. That's where you have to empower your officers to make decisions, and all those things that we talk about, we should live them. And so Vince, to answer your question, that was really what I meant when we were talking offline about making the corner. It's just an analogy or a case or a thing that I went through that kind of put in perspective for me that we're not always going to make.
There are going to be things that are out of your hands.
Right, and I think we forget that sometimes.
Yeah,
you think you're going to make it, and
well, you should want to make it every time,
right.
And you should still have that drive to
absolutely
that I want to make it. But accept the fact that when it happens, you're not a lot of times out of your control.
Absolutely,
you can do everything right,
mm-hmm.
And it's still going to suck.
It's still going to suck, right? And then that leads into a little bit of what I talk about, mental health a little bit, and I'm a big proponent that we need to keep our people mentally and physically healthy, right? We really do. But we also need to build resiliency in the front end. There's something that's not happening on the front end of mental health where we, take the bullying and the harassment and all that out of it, because it's all bullshit and it shouldn't happen. And if you're doing it, stop it. And if someone's out there that's getting bullied, call me and we'll go figure it out how to stop that. That's a different mission set that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the call part. We're not setting up, I don't think that we're setting up the resiliency ahead of time where we tell people, hey, you're going to see bad things, right? You're going to see them, but you didn't cause those bad things. Where we're set into our mission set on these is at this point. And if it's a SIDS, or if it's a burn baby, or if it's a wife of 80, being married for 50 years and dying, that's not yours to carry. And we gotta start helping people not carry that load. We got to tell you that we got to teach them that the mission set starts here at the 911 call, and you're going to make it better. So what you've done is positive. If it's a hand on a gentleman's shoulder that just lost his wife, or it's a hand on a wife that lost her kid, or you do the CPR the best you can and you tube that baby and you get the IO and you do the things you're supposed to do, that's a positive. And you got to hold on to the positives because you made it better from the time you were inserted into that mission versus sympathizing or empathizing with the fact that that's yours to carry. And I think we got to figure out as a fire service how to build that resiliency on the front end so we can protect them on the back end.
Well, that's a hard thing.
It's $1 million question.
If you find a way where you don't take that home with you, let me know, because I think that's the one piece of the fire service puzzle that desperately needs to be figured out.
But like we talked about an hour ago, is that we can sit here and say there's a problem.
Yeah.
But let's figure it out together.
That's going to be a tough one, man.
It is. I agree with you,
especially like in our job. I think that's what makes it so weird. Is it's so far out. Like we get calls, and again, I'm not telling anybody anything that especially if you're not in the fire service, but like we will get, what a lot of people will call nonsensical calls all the time, but like it's just someone that needs an answer. They don't necessarily, they have a problem. They don't know who else to call. The dispatcher might not know who else to call.
Right.
But like we show up and our natural, I've talked about this before on like about like side jobs where like firemen are very, it's a very niche group because we show up and we make something happen. Like you said, speaking before, Chief, like there's a lot of calls where like, you might get someone who might not make a hard, fast decision, but like we want to accomplish a mission every single call, no matter how nonsense it is, whether it's a call on a burn pit or a call on a kid that's not feeling good or on a call. But like when people call us, they're looking for someone to help make a decision for them. And I think that us naturally, like Vince, me and you were talking about this earlier on something totally different, but like we naturally as guys that we are, like we want to make something happen. We have this like we're reactive, we want to make sure that we fix a problem when we're there. But like this isn't a problem. Like we didn't start this fire in the apartment complex. We didn't we're there because someone saw a fire and they called us. And based on, on the moment we showed up to this call, we may have done everything right. We may not have done everything right, but we were only reacting to the situation that we were given. And
But how do you lighten that burden of the run? We all have those bad runs that we carry with us.
Sure.
We remember them like they happened yesterday. And especially for new people coming on, how do we lighten that burden for them? Like, how do we almost desensitize them to what they're going to be seeing and doing?
I don't think you can because it's real. And I'm not diminishing. Please, anyone who's listening, I know we're going to get reactions to this and stuff, but I don't want it to be the reaction that we don't care or desensitizing. We know we need to be sensitive to what we're seeing and what we're doing because we see a lot of bad stuff. But how do we make, just like we work out or just like we eat right, or how do we make our mind stronger? There's got to be something out there to help us on the front end to stay healthier within what we see.
Because honestly, I chalk that up. I think not the only, but like I think one of the biggest solutions to that problem, and I think you're at the forefront of it, Chief, is this training thing. Like, I mean, it's not.
Well, how do you do preventive maintenance on your mentality for seeing?
I think that
what we see on a regular.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
want
know
that answer though. I really want that answer.
I don't
because
know
we do preventive maintenance on our heart.
Yeah,
we do preventive maintenance on our backs and our knees and everything else we do. So there's so many smart people.
Let's not
in this
forget
fire
either
service.
that like the first time preventive maintenance was said on this episode was me talking about picking up homeless people. And so just remember where that phrase is coming. Not the same thing.
Because I agree with you, Vince. We're not doing that, but we're so many smart people in this business. I mean, there's so many people, and so many people care about this topic that we have the audience right now to try to figure that out.
Well,
there's so many people that
we've talked about what to do on the back end,
Yes.
and talk to somebody, start a conversation. Get that. But this is the first time, and I can't believe that it never even dawned on me before to do something prior to you doing that. And if there was something that you could do when you went to the academy or something like that for stress hardening or whatever you want to call it,
and keeping that balance, because as medics, we're all medics in except for Kalaga, but he will be soon though, because Cicero's going ALS, and it's going to be funny to watch him pick people up on the floor. But how do we set that tone at the beginning, right? Because we all care, and we need to care. We need to be empathetic. We need to.
Well, there's a fine line, because you want to stay compassionate, but you want to disconnect it as well, right?
Right.
You want to compartmentalize that part of your life, but you still have to work in that moment. So I hear exactly where you're coming from.
It's a huge mountain.
Huge mountain.
But we're smart people.
We shouldn't stop trying to climb it.
That's right, because it's for our people. And if we're going to advocate, justify, and protect, that's part of what we do as leaders in this fire service, is to go, I see a problem, let's go fix it.
Right. Yeah.
And we might not be the solution. It might be the next group of people that take our lead and fix it. It might be the one after that. But it's an infinite game, as Simon Sinek says. It's an infinite game. It doesn't stop with us. It's got to be, let's keep our people protected. How do we do it? U of I's got the resiliency program that they do in all their 40-hour classes. I don't know if that's the right thing or the wrong thing, but it's something we're starting to talk about, being resilient to what we see. Just like we're resilient to cancer because we wear our masks now. We wear our hoods the right way. We wear the right protective clothing. So we got to take that whole mental part of it and look at that. That's the most powerful organ that we have. How do we protect it? And that's kind of what I'm saying. So I don't want anyone that's listening to go, Chief Demas doesn't care about mental health, because it's the opposite.
No.
It's the opposite of what
I don't think anybody who's listening to what you actually said would take that stance.
Yeah. And again, like I think I think that was a great analogy with like comparing working out, because we work out in preparation that we're going to have to do something physical, and like I was kind of going. I mean, I guess I was maybe taking a different direction, but like. I think that's why training's so important, is that like, go back to turn that corner. If I'm in that situation, knowing through training that I could or should not have taken that corner, I could or should not have, made around that area, I would have, again, hindsight being 20/20, I feel like I definitely would have been better mentally prepared for it than not having trained at all and having no experience on if I should have. Like, I'd feel even worse if I was like, maybe I should have, not knowing whether I should have or not, because I hadn't been on top of my stuff and hadn't had the experience of not, going through there, and thinking later on, like, man, did I fuck up? Like, you didn't fuck up not taking that corner. You would have died.
Right.
And, there was no question in your mind, but to maybe a newer captain or a newer lieutenant in that same position, maybe he doesn't have that training to know, like, if he fucked up or not.
Correct. So training is directly correlated to that. And I think if we train hard and we know our jobs, and then something bad happens, if you know that you were best prepared and going off my 3 hard rules, if you know what you're doing with the tools that you have, then you've done everything you could. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't make it easy. It doesn't mean like, okay, now I don't feel it. It just, maybe that's a tool that we use to put into that resiliency bank, but we gotta, we really have to figure out a way to get our minds healthier prior to, just like we do our hearts and we do our up and overs and all the things that we've done to our physicals every year and all those things, we need to take care of our
push
people
in that direction also,
and
sure.
And I want to shout out to you guys too. I listened to, and we give Brian a lot of grief, but what you guys did for Nikki was class act. So I want to throw that out. It's we're talking about mental health and giving that time to share that.
It was something that is important to all of us who do this podcast, and if we can help anybody, it was worth it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But class act, and I know I reached out to Corey afterwards and said it was just, it was well done. And that's probably why I agreed, because after that I heard the way you guys took care of Brian, and it was like, that's a couple class acts right there. So
you might want to hold off.
I will. I know what's coming. I know what's coming. Corey, Brian.
Well, I mean, if let's bring this full circle with the training and your leadership and responsibility. We had one of your coworkers on our podcast, Chuck Niemeyer, and we talked specifically about a fire that he went to where he made a grab of a little girl in a basement, and he had to pass you up to get to that girl. Correct. And I know we've talked and you've taken some criticism because you were at the door, and you weren't in a position as a fireman. Correct. For that particular fire.
Well, give us your breakdown.
The restraint that you took to not go in there, you would have been a detriment to that run had you done what instinctively you wanted to do.
Correct. So it was the middle of the afternoon again. I don't know. It seems like there's a pattern at the middle of the afternoon. Yeah. But the call came in for 2 girls locked in a house, heavy fire and coming out the whatever side. And I showed up first. Cops were just getting there as well. The police officers there, and they're like, I'm going to take the windows. And I'm like, don't take anything. No. So as I'm coming around the Charlie side, I heard the screaming from the basement.
In your position,
I'm a chief. I was IC, battalion chief at the time.
Oh, wow. Yes. And you were, what was?
I was the first chief there, first fire unit there.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So you saw it from.
Yeah. So I was the first unit there. And,
like outside of the cops, you're the first anybody there.
Right. Cops are they were right in front of me on 5th. So, so I get there, back my buggy in, I can grab my bar, and I started doing my walk around, and I can hear the screaming from the basement. And so the cop was going to go around, take would have been the D side windows, and I told her not to. She's like, no. I said, don't take any windows yet. Just wait. And I took Chief Leak showed up behind me, and I said, Randy, we got to get this door. We got to control the door. She's like, all right. So I took the first door, popped it, and the call was that she was locked in the basement by her cousin, some family squabble. And what she did is take paper towel rolls, soaked them in rubbing alcohol, and lit multiple fires throughout the building, upstairs, downstairs, and in the living room. So as we're taking the door, the fire's coming out of the bedroom over us, and I can hear, when I heard her, I radioed to Truck 2 first, because I thought they would be the first unit there. Called for Truck 2. I need a primary immediately in the Charlie side of the building, basement, known victim, and Truck 2 wasn't coming. So I step in, I get to the next door, and I forced that door to the basement. I was locked. Forced that door, controlled that door too. And then Engine 5 was coming with Chuck, and I can hear him in the distance. So I closed the door.
Crying, right?
He was crying.
Yeah.
But so I could hear 5's coming. So I take out the back door. I go up to the street, look at the street side. I don't see the engine coming yet. So I go back and I started calling out, hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me? And she's like, yeah, like, come to my noise. I'm banging my Halligan on the stairs, and I'm like, just come to my noise. I can't. So I called Chuck again, and now I'm using his name on Fireground. I get, I'm more personal, I guess. I'm like, Chucky, when you get here, I need you packed up, ready to go now. And so I run back and I see Fives coming. And that was where the choice for me was made. If I didn't see that engine, I was probably going. Yeah. So they came around and I stayed at the top of the stairs. I controlled the door to the basement, trying to keep it closed. And then Chucky coming around and I told her she's down to the left, go get her. As soon as he pulled up, truck 2 pulled up, the line was being stretched, everything just had doing it and they're working. And they got the bedroom knocked and then they pulled her up. Medic 5 was right there, dropped him on the cot. Cot was at the back door. She ended up going to the hospital with like 30 seconds outside the building, sent off to Loyola, whatever, messed up hands and burns and stuff. And luckily now she's all back and better and healed. And those boys did a nice job that day. But it was something that it bothers me to today. It'll bother me, I think, for the rest of my career, because how many times have we driven down a block as a fireman going, what if that house was on fire? Would you go in and get somebody? I know, but that's what, as firemen, that's what we think about. I mean, don't tell me you haven't thought about that. And it happened and I couldn't because of my position. I couldn't, and it haunts me. It bothers me. It not haunts me. It's a wrong word. It's like a niche, right? It's like, but it wasn't my position to do that. It was my position to make sure those guys were taken care of and the right resources.
And again, if you don't, I know, I remember for a fact, over that entire podcast, I remember Chuck saying specifically that if you don't do what you do, the other guys don't do what you, like, you're not, I mean, I don't want to, like, obviously I wasn't there. I don't know. But like, it's the glory guy. It's the moron that like runs into nothing or runs into something like that without thinking of the overall picture. Like your job, it's not your fucking job. I mean, and I'm telling you is whatever.
No, I know what you're saying though.
But like, again, if all of our parts, I mean, hammer back to the military thing, if all of our parts don't work in perfect conjuncture, like it's the whole house like cards falls apart.
Yeah, everyone's got a job from the heel guy to the hydrant guy.
I can't believe you had a Hallion. I'm not even, honest to God, like
it goes everywhere with me.
Which is awesome
everywhere.
But like, yeah, there's,
I've always carried it. So
but I know a lot of. I gotta tell you, my the guy in my buggy by me, like he for my shift, he's pretty good about eyeballing the situation. The last fire we had, he grabbed a dry chem and did a good portion of work before he pulled up. But like even him, he's one of the minority of guys who's like an IC that I actually see like trying to force a door or going to add something. Like, again, it's when you're in that position, it's hard to, it's a fine line. Yeah.
It's a fine line, right? And really, if you go by your values, and everyone else, we all have different values, but my number one value that I live by is people matter.
Right.
And if I don't do what I'm supposed to do for my people, then I don't live by my value set. And that's making sure that they come home. And that's my number one mission every day, is that my troops come home healthy, safe, and mentally stronger than they went to work. And that's really what we're supposed to do as bosses.
Right.
And it's, some days are harder than others, but,
right.
But it's that, so I've caught a little flack.
That's the burden of where, did you?
Yeah, I caught some little, not from my job, I'm outside the job, and they heard Chuck's podcast a little, a couple of days. Well, he should have went, and why didn't he go? And
it's from people who were Monday morning quarterbacking.
Sure,
and that's one of the natures of this business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Been around long enough, I know it.
Yeah. But I mean, personally, I think you did 100% the right thing for what it's worth. And I think most of people would agree with me about your actions, because that was your job.
Right.
We could second guess everything that you did, and if you did this, then that. But 100%, I think you did the right thing.
So possibly from a different perspective, were you around too for this shooting that happened?
I was still a captain at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was a captain of Station 3. And
how much more did you do than Chuck?
Because Chuck said he physically carried you to
did.
This run.
Right.
He did. He carried me on his back.
He punched the shooter in the mouth.
He did. Twice.
Which, I mean, I got to tell you, I can't believe I'm just getting into this now, but like, if you guys saw this mustache,
Whose mustache, Corey?
Oh, not mine and not Vince's. Oh my God, he winked at me. Not chasing the mustache. Yeah,
I heard, on all the podcasts I heard from you guys, it's a big thing to have a mustache come in here.
Oh my
big
God,
thing.
we've had some glorious mustaches in here.
There,
That's great.
So,
That's great.
thank you.
I was
much.
just re-listening to the one, and I'm like, I think I called this guy carnival face motherfucker. Like, I don't know. Like at one point, I'm like, we
gotta stop
cool
drinking.
Yeah, it's
We
just,
gotta
it's
stop
got
drinking
out
on
of
the
control.
podcast.
That was when there's peanut butter on the floor. That's fine.
Oh, that's a whole other story.
Yeah. But to a lighter topic. So,
Yeah.
so this shooting. So you were a captain at the time.
I was captain of Station 3. It was right after chow lunch, and again afternoon. Weird, right?
You need to work
going
nights.
on?
I know, right? Yeah. So the tones drop in the station, and my senior guy at the time, or my senior firefighter, Clint, grabs the thing. He's like, "Hey, we got a shooter. It's for real." I'm like, "Yeah, shut the."
Right.
So it came in
Whatever.
as an active shooter
He
response.
came in as an active shooter, and like, "Yeah, no, he goes, no, it's for real, Cap. Let's go." And it was only for Medic 3 was the only they were
Rig that was
dispatched,
due. Yeah.
but so we're going, and we would chase Medic 3 everywhere because they're our guys. So even if we weren't, we'd put ourselves on the ticket. So we started heading there, and one chief said that staging would be at Engine 7's house, which is like 1,000 yards to the southwest of the shooting building.
Wow. Yeah.
It was right through the field. And as we're driving, I had the police radio on, and I heard that I think it was Officer Gomez got shot, officer down. So I told Clint to go to the scene, just go to the scene. And I met Chief Makovich there at the same time. We pulled up, and he was EMS 1 at the time, and he's like, "Hey, I got an officer down. Take Medic 3 and Engine 3 down there on down Cleveland." Okay, so we headed down Cleveland, and I had Medic 3 turn around backwards, facing out. And then at that point, we reported another officer down, and you can hear the gunfire. It was still active shooting going on, and I set up a forward command post. We didn't really have that in our orders. We didn't. Our active shooter protocol wasn't done yet because we've been training over the last 2 years with RTF. We got a grant with Naperville, and we've been training in RTF for a year, like actual movements. Just prior.
Yeah.
Law of recency, right? It's just because we trained on it, it's going to happen. And so we had our little red bags. We had all our stuff. We didn't have our ballistics, but so I took Engine 3.
Goddamn mail, holding it up in the mail.
Yeah. So had Medic 3 back in. Had a second ambulance come up and back in, and I started setting up an ambulance route there. Met up with a police lieutenant, and him and I were talking. He had the police radio. I had the fire radio. Then another one went down, and then another one went down, and another one went down.
Oh my God.
So we ended up with 5. We transported all 4. And then while that was going on, so the orders to the ambulance guys were the 2 medics are in the back, driver of whatever engine company's associated with your medic unit's the driver. I don't care if they have a skin knee or they're shot up. You're taking 2 medics with every police officer. And we just started a rotation. Our chief got there with the chief of police, set up a command post. We had Steve Weatherly and Chief Shivari in the command post as IC. Chief Makovich was RTF command, and I was forward command. And then once we started sending RTFs downrange, we ended up with 14 RTF teams set up and moving downrange because there was about 200.
Your RTF teams comprise of your medics and a police officer and
Multiple police, multiple fire. So they were getting 4, I think it was 4 firefighters, and then whatever police officers so it was a 4-man stack or a 6-man stack, depending on how many police officers we had there. So when they would come by me, I would just take the officer of whatever name, and that was RTF Niemeyer, right? RTF White, and that's how I kept track of them. I put all the RTFs on Fireground 2 and Fireground 2, and I had command on Fireground 1, having ambulances staged. So we kind of ran that from that post there.
Damn.
Yeah. It's time compressed. It was crazy.
Oh yeah.
It was compressed. So you go back and you relive it and you revisit it, and just watching the troops walk down Cleveland, and they're scared, right? They're nervous. You can see it. There's no ballistics. The shooter's not contained yet. They're moving forward, and it's real, right? It was real.
Yeah, it's such a wildly different, and you've taken some stuff like that, right, Vinny?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's such a wildly different mindset from what we had been trained to do.
Yes.
I feel like up until this point that, like, especially.
it's a new thing for the fire service. This has been going on so often that now the fire service has adopted protocols to deal with it.
Correct.
We don't do stuff like that on our own.
Right.
No,
I mean Vince is used to wearing bulletproof vests, but we're generally not.
Yeah, well, our department, we've had them since I got on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've had them. But it's like the fire service always reinvents itself to handle the problem, right? Go back to EMS in the 70s. You go back to hazmat in the 80s. You go to TRT in the 90s. You go to all hazards in the 2000s. And, so we're good at solving problems and getting and handling those things and putting in the protocols to handle that. And, I couldn't be more proud of those teams and Aurora that day and how we reacted and the stuff afterwards, the way that the chief handled stuff and the chief of police handled stuff. It was just first class all the way for the families and in the department and the guys walking down range. It was real to them. And there's guys that bothered, and we got them through it, and they're better today than they are. We got our ballistics and those kind of things, but it's you can put the glory to it or the stories to it, but when at the end of the day, it's real. And, it's something out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
Right? You put a 2-story frame on fire, we're all glad to go run in there. Right. But you put a guy with a gun, and then it's like, this is not what I signed up for. And I get that. And to have guys still step up and do that, it's pretty proud of the Aurora Fire Department that day.
Just the leadership alone of the Aurora Fire Department. Like, I mean, going back to like the old war movies, I mean, how many times did you see guys like and given it's a very different situation, but like, how often would you see renditions of like the one guy just kind of like backs up off the line or something, the chink in the armor breaks the whole thing because somebody just, was not prepared to do it that day, and all your guys went home.
Yeah, and they were all prepared to do it. And it's they pretty all went awesome. Pretty awesome. They all did exactly what the orders were and the mission set, and in my position that day was a captain, as a captain, as a Aurora firefighter, as a civilian, and standing in the city of Aurora, to watch the Aurora Police Department and the Aurora Fire Department do what they did that day to stop, because there's still 20 some people in the building that we did, so they stopped that. They stopped that day, and that's a big deal.
Yeah. It is a big deal.
20 people went home. 20 people went home to their families. Like it's.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So we're coming up on the 30th anniversary in September. September 11th, 2001. Someone call it one of the what I get here described as one of the greatest challenges the fire department of the United States has ever had to deal with. But I had heard that you took a trip with the boys over to New York. Hey guys, you know what? We're just going to talk a minute about this awesome beer we've been drinking from Illuminate Brew Works. Right now I'm drinking Trust, and this thing it's just a really good lager. We're kind of run the gauntlet here. We got some awesome beer here, so we're just running through each one of them. Vince, you tried that Orange Sunshine too, right? Orange
Sunshine is my new favorite summer beer.
Yeah.
Thanks to Brian at Illuminated Brew Works. If you guys are looking for an amazing craft beer, and I'm not a big craft beer guy, and I was a little hesitant, and then when we started popping these things open, it was like Christmas.
Yeah, we've been firing pretty good on these things.
We've been going through these like crazy.
Bar Chicago's Bravest Stories is doing all right over here.
Right. Well, the Illuminated Brew Works beer has saved us from drinking all the whiskey that we have here because we've been drinking more beer than we have whiskey.
Might not even be whiskey guys anymore.
Yeah.
And that Creeper one was pretty good too, right? Vince,
Creeper was good.
And we're fresh out of astronaut juice.
If we had astronaut juice, that is my top one. From these guys. If you're looking for an amazing craft beer, you can find it at Binny's Norwood Park Wine and Spirits Beer Temple, which is right down the street here from the studio. So if you're picking up some Illuminated Brew Works at Beer Temple, stop in, have a drink with us. Bottle and cans, Capone's, Toto's, and Rayans, Rayans.
Yeah, these are all bars they're selling it. And you guys would notice it for sure once you walk in because they've got some really cool artwork on each of their cans. So again, just look for the eye-popping artwork that you're going to see, and they'll kind of lead you over. Again, this is Illuminated Brew Works. Make sure to check out anything that they've made so far, because everything I've tried has been awesome.
Oh, it's really good. If you go to that place, Wine Styles, at 6182 Northwest Highway, you can pick it up. And coincidentally, that is right next door to where the new brew pub is going to be. Illuminated Brew Works is opening up a brew pub at 6186 Northwest Highway. It's going to be amazing. The beer is amazing. And we are also asked to mention that the new Brony is coming back out. It's a double hop IPA. So for you IPA guys, the Brony is coming back. But the beers that he has in stock right now are amazing. Illuminated Brew Works, thanks Brian again for keeping us in beer here. And when our guests come in and stuff like that, we give it to them as well. And we've heard nothing but great things from our guests who've walked out of here with a 4-pack of Illuminated Brew Works.
Thanks, guys. Again, make sure to check them out. Illuminated Brew Works.
Yeah. So there were 6 of us from Aurora that went, went with the Chicago guys. Chief Hoff and Chief Roscoe were our command personnel at the time, and Joe Drennan was in charge of logistics. And we left on the morning of the 12th.
Under what contingency did you guys go? As a Mavis or?
No, there was no contingency.
It was just grab your shit and go.
Yeah, we were told, and because I was getting off shift that morning, and they forced everybody back. So I stayed over that day, and they told us during that day that Chicago was sending someone, and they were going to send 6 of our chiefs, and their chiefs were close, and they were sending 6 people. They weren't know who they were going to be, but you'll find out soon enough. And then they picked the 6, and everybody had a different background. So there was a TRT guy, there was a hazmat guy, there was a guy that was deployed to Somalia. So everyone had some type of specialty, or the team leader for technical rescue.
Yours was the mustache, right?
Mine was a mustache, absolutely. But you know what happens, Corey? It's a lot of responsibility. It's just you just can't.
They don't just give those mustaches.
Right, Corey. You got to earn it, buddy.
The burden nor the symmetry is not. It just doesn't come to everyone. I guess.
So we were told that we were leaving in the morning, and we left on the 12th, and spent. I think we came home on the 18th after they switched it to rescue to recovery, and FEMA took over, and the National Guard took over. But
oh my God,
there was the proudest day as a firefighter I've ever had in my career, probably.
Yeah,
being part of that, to see that amount of work and caring, and the hardest day as an American citizen, and everyone had a touch of it. And we came home, and whoever wanted to talk to us, we did. The 6 of us had an agreement that if anyone ever wanted to talk about it, it was Aurora that was there, not any of us. And it's kind of how we've held it. Coming up on the 20th anniversary, it's it starts to play in the game. You start seeing the specials on the History Channel. You start reliving that. And I don't think I had. I think in my career there's been a few calls that I hold on to that I have probably had experienced some PTS that I've gotten over or worked through. That took a little bit. It took a little bit to get through. And I try not to watch I'll watch one special and that's it. And I'll call the guys on the day. But the one thing that always sticks in mind is there's some funny stories, but the one that, there was a group of first graders that they came out with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and they're handing them out we did 12s and we were on whatever, and they had these peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and they're why peanut butter and jelly? And the little girl looks up and says, it's because you guys stick together like peanut butter and jelly. And it's just like, son of a bitch, you tear jerker, but you knew right there you made an impact, right? We talk about getting inserted into a mission set that New York needed people to stand up for them, and America needed people to stand up. And we didn't blow the buildings up. We didn't cause that to happen, but you know what? We responded because that's what we do. And it was such an honor to be part of that and to be able to make a difference in something. I don't know what we did, but we did something. And from being in the buckets to going underneath the steel to whatever it was, you had an impact and you rose up for the fire service and those brothers that lost their lives that day, and some of those were people that I knew. I mean, Andy Fredericks, God rest his soul, was murdered that day. He taught with us at U of I, and it's just, you look at it and then there's friends that you have that are missing. You took a couple of days to find, John was missing, finally got a hold of Don, so it was real, right?
Wow, these are your guys. Holy shit.
Yeah, so you knew you knew people, right? You knew people. And I rode in New York in 95 and 96 and met a lot of friends and stayed in contact with some of them. And, it's, some of those are, they're not here anymore.
Right.
I'm not saying they were best friends, but it's just no different sitting at a kitchen table here, right?
It's very different going there for helping out, FDNY than it is going there to help out. Like, hey, this is a buddy of mine. Like this guy.
Yeah, and not not best of friends, but acquaintances. And,
yeah.
But I remember riding out on one of the truck companies, and the guy's like, "You sit in my seat. I'll stand up in the wheel well." Okay. It's just so that was that kind of character that you had out there, and the guys. It was a tough time for everybody, and it's coming up on the 20th anniversary.
Right.
It's a few months away.
Tough have to get something going for that, Penny.
Well, we've covered a lot of we went deep here with you, Chief, and
deeper than I thought we were going to go.
To lighten
Vince
the
gets
mood.
That a lot.
Yeah,
Vince gets that a lot.
Come on, tell me about my college nickname now, right?
We're not ready yet.
Okay.
We got a couple things for you bring it back.
Well, I mean, let's lighten it up a little bit here.
Right.
I just found out that you did very well in a powerlifting competition. Is this correct?
It is correct.
Tell us all about that, man. That's we're diving right into this.
Okay.
We're getting personal.
I mean, not the best, but very well is what I.
Well, I did okay.
Yeah.
I did. I competed at the state meet last month.
And this is just powerlifting, right?
Yeah, APF.
Okay, so it's
American Powerlifting Federation.
So it's the accumulation of the three lifts, right?
Yeah, deadlift, squat, and bench.
Okay.
So
I actually happen to have your numbers here. Do you remember what they are?
I don't, because I don't really. To me, it doesn't matter.
Oh, I did I tell you he was going to say that?
I don't.
I told you.
I don't know what they are.
But fortunate for you, I have those numbers here. Would it surprise you to know that you squatted 462.9 pounds?
No.
Okay.
Cool. That's
All
cool.
Right. Is that right? Is that right where we should be?
Yeah, I thought it was more, but it's okay. I thought it was 482, but okay.
Vince's math might be skewed.
Your bench,
who's counting though?
Your bench press was 413.3.
That's correct.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. And your deadlift 501.5.
Correct.
Okay. And Brian Kalaga said that wasn't bad for the seniors division.
For the specific category that you were.
Right. That's true. But Brian will always be older than me. As much as he tries, he will always be older than me. So.
Was there a category? I thought he was just messing with you.
Jeez.
What was it?
Oh yeah,
I
was just
thought
saying that wasn't for a
coming
category.
here, or probably
So
Niedermeyer
heard.
heard what you were saying about it.
God.
So
I just want Niedermeyer to bust him through the wall
with his wrestling
with his wrestling outfit. So that's really, I mean, know that we're talking about your weightlifting career because of us missing out on hammering hammering Chuck on his wrestling career.
Yeah,
so this is all just penance that you're
Sure,
paying
that's
for him.
fine. So I so I competed twice actually that day. I competed on Friday night in the push-pull, and then I competed in a full meet on Saturday, which I can tell you I will never do that again. Okay.
I don't think anybody should do that.
No, that's what I found. Even the people at this place were like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like,
Again?
Yeah. So it was stupid. But those are my numbers. It's in the 50 to 54 category on Saturday is when I competed. The bench was 413. That was on the open.
Yeah.
So I took the open on that one.
Okay.
So,
strong work, man. I can appreciate your accomplishments in this because those are big numbers. So congratulations.
Thanks.
Vince can appreciate your accomplishments for the 50 and older crowd. That's what he can appreciate it for.
Well, I did, and it I think it took the numbers. I think I blew the guy out that had it last year by like over 100 something kilos.
Come on.
Yeah. So
get the fuck out of here.
No. And for our listeners in America, that's 220 pounds. So.
Thank God he said 100, huh, Vince?
Right.
That would have been fucked if he didn't say 100.
But
all right,
I started this week, and I got to give a shout out to Griff, Alex Griff. He he got me kind of motivated to do this, and a guy on our job, Doolin Galloway, because I went out to LA in 17 and did the police and fire games. So I did the Worlds, and I ended up taking silver because of those guys.
God.
Yeah. That's awesome. If you get to police and fire games, it's the most awesome thing. 16,000 competitors from all over the world. Yeah,
I've seen videos of it.
Yeah,
Like,
different
it's
competitive
nuts.
from playing cornhole to karate to boxing to powerlifting to bodybuilding. I mean, they got all the events, and it's just a bunch of like-minded people hanging out for a week, and it's a lot of fun.
I was gonna say,
It's a blast.
especially like Miami. They got to be motivated as
Yeah.
shit. Like,
Oh,
just
it's
ready
great.
to rock and roll.
Oh, it's fun.
Oh God.
They have big venues at the night, big parties, and
Oh, boy.
first class all the way. It's a great time.
Well, to wrap it up, I mean, Corey, you got
Oh yeah. So yeah. No. You know what? I really it's running low. I mean, it was actually pretty thin. Unlike that mustache, it was very thin. What I was getting from guys, because again, you're a fucking great guy, Jay, and so like everybody's been there wasn't too much, except for Brian, who you spoke highly of him, but he did not speak the way of you. But he, I mean, again, it was just hammered mostly for the fake mustache and the EMS chief stuff.
Yeah.
But
hey, let's address that real quick.
yeah, let's hear it.
Because you guys left
because
the
it
break
clearly
at
doesn't
the-
bother you.
It doesn't
Yeah.
bother me.
No.
It doesn't bother me. So in the city of Aurora, we have 3 chiefs a day.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have Battalion 1, Battalion 2. They're on the east and west side of the river, and then you have EMS 1.
Okay.
Okay. EMS 1 is a citywide chief. That's where I'm at. Yeah. But EMS 1 also covers any code, shooting, stabbing. So they do the EMS part of it too to handle the 7 medics.
Yeah.
But it is a citywide chief that gets to go to all the fires, all the extrications, and they're on every ticket.
Oh.
So Brian's jealous. He won't tell you that, but I get to go to everything. And
Anywhere in your entire city.
Anywhere.
You're just like, you know what? Put me on it. Like Batman.
Yes, that's right. Like Batman. Because Batman is the only true superhero. You know that, right?
Because he's rich and...
Yeah, he has no powers.
Oh, yeah.
He's the only superpower that has no powers.
Right.
Now you can throw Iron Man in there, but he's got a suit.
Yeah.
So it's got kind of like powers. He has that thing in his
Superman.
chest.
How hard is it for Superman? The guy somebody brings out a green rock and like,
Oh, I'm scared.
that's my thing.
Batman's the only true
How'd you know again? All right. So you're out there fucking killing it. Brian's just being a dick. So, so my thing, if you have heard it, if you were blowing smoke, Jay, my thing is the ball busting stuff. So like been around for a while, 25 years. What kind of pranks can you talk about on the air that you either instrumented yourself possibly or were a part of?
or that you
lucky for you.
exhausted the statutes of limitations.
Yeah.
Lucky for you, Corey. I listened to other podcasts. And I knew, so I thought of some things over the last few days.
All right.
So one, not saying that any part of this, but Station 3 back in the day got all new dishes and pizza pans and through the 2% fund.
Mm-hmm.
The one chief at the time's he's like, yeah, downtown guys aren't too proud. They'll take all that. So all of a sudden, your old shit showed up at our station, and one guy calls up and goes, you took our garbage. It's just like downtown, blah, blah, blah. So me and another guy, and I won't say his name because he's still employed there, we went over to Station 3, and we kind of maybe acquired their brand new double wide toaster. The bagel toasters, like the very first time, these all chromed out, big wide slots, and they're proud of this.
I was going to say this is like a $300 toaster.
Yeah,
at
I
the
don't know how
time,
much
probably.
it was,
Yeah,
but
no.
it was. They were proud of this, like their new chrome toaster. Well, that chrome toaster decided to take a trip, and it traveled all over the country, and everywhere it went, they sent a picture back to the station. So it's been scuba diving in Hawaii. it's been to National Fire Academy. It's been to Florida. It's been to New York. It's been down to Metropolis under the big Superman. So every time it went somewhere, it would show up. And we had a big poster, like a big poster size glass pinboard, corkboard, and we would put
the like everywhere.
and it's a stack of pictures. It's got to be 3 inches of pictures when they took it down. Yeah, it's been everywhere. And then obviously that was all around.
I love the idea of like some young guy who's like talking to his wife and they're like he's like, oh yeah, like we gotta get an extra bag for Mexico, and they're like what do we need? It's just toaster. Like I'll tell you later. But like I haven't explained this thing to his wife.
Well,
so,
don't forget somebody had to go through the metal detector
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff like that with the toaster.
there were TSA agents asking like, oh, it's a gift.
And one of the best pictures that we got is they took a truck. I'm not sure which truck it was, but the pads are down and the tires up and the toaster's underneath the tires, and guys have their hoods on, across their noses, with a knife to the power cord. So that lasted a long. That was one of the good ones.
Let's go.
Well, do you have that information on the GoFundMe?
I do.
Why don't we give that out?
Yeah, so I did look into this, just so everyone can please take a look. If you go to GoFundMe and type in supporting Chief Hugh Stott, Stott, they are running a donation page for him. Unfortunately, it looks like Chief Stott was diagnosed with ALS early in the year, and
we're trying to give some help.
Yeah,
we're trying to help out, and anything that any listener can do, we appreciate it. So if you can help out, one of your brothers.
Yeah, he's not doing well, and for as much as we're always looking for support, if we could push any of that over to this guy, like anything can help. If it's a couple bucks, if it's any amount of money, it's something that'll help. What seems to be just a class act guy. So definitely take a look at that, please. Again, it's on the GoFundMe page, and if you search for Chief Stott. And with that, Vincent?
Yeah. Chief Demas, anything you want to finish with?
Closing remarks?
No, I just want to thank you for having me. I didn't.
And the shitty donuts. You're welcome.
I appreciate the monster.
Yeah.
But thank you for having me. I didn't know what to expect. But this has been fun. Hopefully it comes out to sound like it did when we did it. So
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. And, we'll hope to have you back sometime soon. We'll have you and Kalaga in here together, and we'll have Feats of Strength.
Just watch the comedy duo of you two guys hammering each other. And
we have a good time in class together. We teach together a lot, and he's a class act. And I'd love to do one of these with him.
Yeah,
definitely.
Right. Yeah,
done deal.
This would be fun.
Corey, anything else before we wrap this up?
No.
This has been 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
Did you realize it?
No, I didn't.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's the time warp.
Yeah, you lose yourself in here. Please make sure to visit the website again. Visit the website. Any support you guys can give us, we appreciate. T-shirts, the website, subscribe and like the pages,
Facebook, Instagram, Chicago's Bravest.
Yeah. Please, if you guys if you guys are listening to the podcast, please make sure to subscribe and leave a review, even if it's about some of our guests' poor choices in facial hair. That's fine too. You can add that on there. And again, please take a look at Chief Stott's GoFundMe page. Family and us, we would all very much appreciate it.
All right. Until next time, Chicago's Bravest Stories.
The opinions and views are that of Chicago's Bravest Stories podcast and their guests. They do not necessarily reflect the views of any municipal governments, fire protection districts, fire departments, EMS, or law enforcement organizations.